What's going on, everybody? Today is Wednesday, September 11th. Spooky. Um, Not exactly spooky, but um, Nick Castellanos has already hit a home run. But football is in full swing. We've had a couple fraud top 10 college football teams got exposed this week. We had a full slate of NFL games, and but before week 2, Deshaun Watson still a pedophile,
Even more so now.
or and not a pedophile, a sex offender.
A pedophile of adults.
I think you
He's
get
an adult
is
pedophile.
pedophile only for kids? I thought pedophile was a blanket term.
No, I think that's
Pervert.
short Italian.
Hey, I saw a pretty good bit one time of a guy saying that if you know the difference between like because there's like age ranges and there's words for like if you're attracted to kids like 7 and under, it's like a specific word, and then like 7 to 12, and if someone's like you're a pedophile and you're like actually, then you are a pedophile. That's
Yeah, that's a lot. I only know of one word, but I do know that pedophile isn't just a blanket one. I feel like that's common knowledge.
Huh. And guess I'm not hip to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
he probably is still a pedophile. That's the thing about society, is that you can't innocent until proven guilty. Well, not innocent until proven guilty, but also like you can't accuse people without facts. But I feel like there's certain people that as soon as they've done like a certain amount of bad things, then anything accusing them of anything is fair game, and that's kind of where he's at right now.
Which is where we could probably stick him with something because of the amount of bad shit that people say about him. That like we could probably make something up and people would probably be like, yeah, maybe.
Right. Like, yeah, he also stole my watch.
Yeah,
It's like now he owes
maybe
me
we
money.
could make some serious coin off of this. We need to figure something out.
Are there like famous Cleveland landmarks we could say you like shit on one, maybe, or like if there's like a top hat or something, like a famous Cleveland top hat statue kind of deal? Don't know, I'm just kind of throwing something at the wall here.
Seems like something they might have. It's where Monopoly was invented.
Yeah. So yeah, now that we're on the topic with Deshaun Watson, I wanted to kind of get your guys' opinion on, we saw the Browns get absolutely blown out this weekend against the Cowboys. We saw the Falcons look somewhat lifeless against a team that didn't score a touchdown. And right now, would you rather be the Cleveland Browns and be on the hook for that Deshaun Watson contract, or the Atlanta Falcons on the hook for 4 years of Kirk Cousins, who did not leave the pocket last weekend at all?
I feel like because you're asking, I know what your answer is, because I feel like there's an obvious answer.
I don't think there is an obvious answer here.
I feel like you'd rather be the Falcons.
Yeah.
Oh, I disagree.
See,
I think
that's what I said.
Yeah.
Well, Cousins. I mean, I've said it before. I think I'm higher on Cousins than majority of people, and obviously didn't play well in Week 1. But like, I think that when he plays, kind of how it has for the past couple years, he's like top half or around 16, pretty close. And then as that fan base, you just talk yourself into like, we have Penix eventually. Like you're like, all right, well, we'll go to Penix then. And then like Bijan's awesome. Kyle Pitts like showing flashes of maybe being more fun this year. Again, 1 touchdown in the whole game, right? So, but like I feel like there's definitely more upside you can talk yourself into from an Atlanta perspective.
I feel like coming from the Brown side, though, I mean, they've been a competitive football team for the last like 3 years with this awful quarterback play. I feel like they're eventually going to have to just bite the bullet and probably cut Deshaun Watson and eat that, $100 million of cap hit, whatever it is, right? Like, because right now he is just tanking this team. I think his QBR was like in the teens or something. Like, I didn't know it went that low. Like, the dude is just a warm body out there at this point. Once they eat that and just go out there and get an actual, like, any quarterback, a rookie quarterback, anything, I think with the coaching of Stefanski and that defense, I think they're in a better position than it seems right now, but it's all contingent on moving away from Watson.
Well, I think that's the only silver line. Like that's the reason why I think you could pick the Browns is I think there's a chance that they are going to be able to cut him and void the guarantees and do
Yeah,
the
it depends on the legal
conduct
stuff.
detrimental to the team deal.
Yeah. Do you think, let's say like that wasn't a thing, they're on the hook for the contract. Do you think there's a team in the league that would like at a large discount pick up some of his contract? You don't think so? I mean, I know that it's happened again, like this recent story, but the Browns did this massive deal with controversy.
Yeah, and it's only one more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're telling me that like I would have probably picked the Broncos, but obviously they have like Knicks and Peyton kind of likes them out there and stuff. So I'm trying to think of a team that would maybe.
And Deshaun Watson's a white guy, so
I mean,
Sean
the
Payton.
Raiders have to. The Raiders would have to think about it.
I think the quarterback play of Watson, I don't know if there is a worse quarterback in the league right now than what we just saw on Sunday. I mean, I would rather Alex O'Connell or Gardner Minshew or Bryce
Yeah.
Young. I think that, and then when you factor in the social issues that are ongoing with him as well, and how much that's going to alienate a piece of your fan base, I don't see a world where even if he was cut completely and it was like a Russ Wilson situation where you get him for the league minimum, who would want this guy on their team anymore? The dude is dead weight.
Well, there is that one Browns fan that has embraced him. So
Yeah.
have you guys seen that burner account?
No,
Yeah.
I haven't.
Yeah.
It just keeps calling him four,
Sure.
and it's just like it's like he has no protection. Like if he had Trent Williams, then you'd see what four could do. I'm like, okay, fucking one guy is Trent Williams.
I think still it's definitely Atlanta though. I'd rather be the Falcons because they can win the division.
That's true, and I think they could. The guarantees end after next year, so he could. That's always been my thought when I first saw the contract. Was I assume he's going to play this year, he's going to play next year, and then he's going to get traded.
Yeah. Well, I mean I think they could win the division. Although it looks like it might be a little bit more feisty than we thought. Like the Saints putting up a billion points and the Bucks actually looking really solid. Might be me like talking myself into it because I recently acquired Baker Mayfield in my fantasy team, but I don't know.
I think the Saints are 0-0 though. That doesn't count.
No stats that are accrued against the Panthers this year should actually like count for anything.
That is an NFL team out there.
They get paid to play too.
That was awful. Any bet you see this year, like just take the spread against the Panthers. I saw a stat today. They haven't covered the spread in, I think 11 weeks dating back to last year. They're just
the Panthers?
Yeah, the Panthers.
I can't believe I fucking
back to life the age old. Do you think this Panthers team is worse than like the Browns of old? Like
no.
The Deshaun Kaiser Browns or
the
like
talent feels like it's there with this Panthers team. Like they have Deontay Johnson, they have Miles Sanders, they have Bryce Young, who like should be a decent quarterback. Like they have talent on the defensive side as well. It's like just I don't know what it is, but it feels like nothing can click for them, and it like hasn't clicked for 3 years now. But it's a disaster.
Who's a name on their defense?
Huh?
Yeah. Name a guy on he's in San Francisco now.
All right, well, never mind.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I can't. I mean, we should, but I can't really think of anybody. They have that Horn dude still,
JC.
Yeah. So I guess he's the one.
Yeah, that's the thing is they have like a couple players that you might want versus those old Browns teams. Like I don't know, like that's post Josh Gordon. I don't know any receivers that you might want. Joe Hayden was there on the defense.
Yeah.
I think during the 0-16.
Xavier Woods is in Carolina.
The wrestler?
No.
Do you think I don't know. I like actually think sometimes that like a downtrodden NFL team that's labeled the league's worst, like maybe not just 1 year, but kind of consecutive years. I think that a college team puts up a better fight than people think they would against like a Georgia or Alabama at their peak. I don't know if there's like even those Clemson teams that won natties. I don't know if I would put them against anything. And I understand the argument, but I don't know. I think it's closer than people act like it is.
The only thing is, like, Bryce Young, for like as shit as he is, he did play in the SEC, and that's like where you're gonna get the closest
Yeah.
in most cases, like the week to week, like either SEC or Big Ten. If you're kind of dominate one of those, then I think it's hard to make that argument. But I do think if the Panthers, like, if you were like, okay, in the spring, like in May, we're gonna do an exhibition, Panthers versus Georgia. That I think the Panthers would kill them if they play the entire NFL season and they're like 1-16, and then it's like, okay, now your bowl game is against Georgia. Then I think they could lose that because they've been the Panthers for so long that they can't stop being the Panthers.
I think it's tough. Like I would stay if I was a GM. I feel like I'd stay away from like Alabama quarterbacks because it's kind of like the Tebow. It's kind of like the T said Tebow. The Tebow situation is like Tebow's a gamer in college and he's one of the best ever, like the greats in college. But it was pretty clear that without his staff around him at the level of play in college, he was a completely different person. And it's like I mean, Tua's doing well and he's accurate and everything, but he's not an elite. I wouldn't call him elite quarterback, and I'm a Dolphins fan. You know.
What? You don't think so? You don't ride for
A
your
lefty
guy, bro.
quarterback can't be
That's
elite. It's the
sad.
law.
Michael
That's
Vick.
fucking
You don't think
sad.
Vick was elite?
Not elite. Killed dogs. He's worse than a bro.
I have I have a bone to pick with the entire league because first of all, they're shoving it down your throat like partnership with DraftKings and guys having stuff with FanDuel and all this shit. First of all, I'm pissed about that because being in Florida, I can only bet on Hard Rock, which is awful. It's the most atrocious like template. Everything sucks. The interface is garbage. It's like you can't throw together certain like same game or multi same game parlays are or same game plus. I guess they call them the other stuff are impossible. You can't do it. Um, Certain futures aren't there. Like I don't even know if I can bet on a Heisman in college. I could be wrong, but I don't. I feel like I might not be able to bet on a Heisman and stuff like that. But then anyway, bringing it
Feel
back,
free to
the
sponsor us,
NFL.
though, Hard Rock.
What was it?
Feel free to sponsor us, Hard Rock, if you hear
Yeah,
this.
exactly. We'll
Changing
work
teams.
with you. We'll work with you to make it better. But this week with like everybody not reporting injuries, so we have Chris McCaffrey, the thing with Jordan Mason slipping up, saying that he was actually told on Friday that he was playing. I do think that what Shanahan said might be kind of true. Is like, hey, like if you kind of know this guy has something maybe going on, be like, hey, be ready to get some reps in. Not saying that he has the rock, but that not being reported and CMC's out. Joe Burrow is so clearly still really hurt. Like you see the video of him picking up the water bottle, he can't even pick it up, and that's the same injury as last year. Absolutely nothing about that. He played the whole game, so people can't get too mad about it. But it's like if you knew that he had this issue, it's the same thing as oh, it's raining in New England tonight. I might not bet on a bunch of passing yards. You know what I mean? It's like you can't do two of the same things, like not report the injuries and then also push really hard on betting services.
Yeah, I mean, we got fucked by Blake Corum, which wasn't an injury, but it's also just fucking bullshit with like information reporting, where every fucking place you could not find me a depth chart that did not have Blake Corum as the second running back for the Rams, and he fucking his yards over was like 25, and the other dude isn't even available to bet on, and so even if you know that the other dude is going to play, you can't even take advantage of it because he's not even fucking available to bet on. So
Yeah.
what? They put Kyner Williams' number way high. He's fucking returning punts. So you're like, oh shit, maybe the RB2 will get some run. So we were like, okay, let's toss Blake Corum in a parlay. 4 guys carried the ball for the Rams, and none of them were Blake Corum.
And as as Mags pointed out the other night in group chat that it's like they can't void the bet like they do for injuries, or if somebody doesn't even play because he
Technically on
was
the field for kickoff.
he,
Yeah.
he recorded one tackle.
He looked up. That was his.
Yeah.
He looked up and saw the ball go over his head, and that was enough for FanDuel, DraftKings, all. The
Yeah.
I think it's important to note when it comes to injuries in the NFL, like they don't go away. Like if they're not listed on the depth chart, like if Joe Burrow next week his wrist isn't listed on the depth chart or something, or on the injury report, like that injury is still there. I think that we like tend to forget that. They just aren't declaring it. And I think that when you're betting
Well, you
player
have to
prop,
declare it.
well, that's the thing though. Like if he's like, yeah, like I don't know, wrist feels fine, like he's not getting treatment on it or whatever, but it still hurts like a bitch. Like that
That's
pain
true.
is going to be there all year probably. This stuff with McCaffrey's calf tendonitis, that doesn't sound great. You think that's going away if he like this week? Like when you're
Yeah.
betting on player props like that, like take a look at the injury report like from maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago just to see, because there is a chance like, and like load management is going to be a thing in the NFL now. Like they're playing 18 weeks. Like, you know, you just got to be wary of this stuff and like kind of keep your eye on it. And especially if you're throwing these, player props on top of a bet already, like you might get fucked.
I do understand, like, if I wasn't somebody who bet, I would probably be in the camp because I'm kind of a boomer in some things. Like, probably be in the camp like, oh, it's part of the game. They don't want the other team to know. They don't want to have to
Right.
report everything. But it's different when your whole fucking league is pushing these sites so hard. Like, then that should just be a thing. They can't have a partnership with it. Like you know, they
Yeah.
just can't do it.
The leagues being partnered with the betting sites does feel like we're headed down a pretty slippery slope, and it doesn't, like, it just feels like things just keep snowballing with all of this stuff, and this is just the latest thing.
It feels like a weird choice to do it.
Yeah, I agree.
What's going to end up happening is the NFL is going to get a bunch of auditors, and they're going to send them to every team's facility, and they're going to watch, like, they're going to mandate you, like, if anybody enters the training room, they're going to have to go on the injury report, like that kind of shit. So just so that that kind of stuff doesn't happen, which boosts the economy. So maybe I should be president.
The issue to me lies more in the fact that is this information being provided to Vegas? And like, is the information being provided to Vegas the same information that is being provided to us as the general public? Like, did Vegas know that when they set the line for San Francisco and New York on Monday that Christian McCaffrey was not playing in that game? Like, I'm curious
Yeah.
I
because
think they definitely know that stuff.
yeah, like that to me, it's like you almost can't win if you are just not being given all of the information, right?
Then it would feel weird that what was the guy's name? Ronnie something? Ronnie? Who's the guy who's actually getting the carries to the Rams then?
Oh, I blacked his
But
name.
Oh,
like
Ronnie Rivers,
Rivers, it feels
that
weird kind
fuck.
of that they didn't wouldn't have snuck or sneaked him into the lines, like the odds. I don't know, because if they know it all. But maybe that's kind of the play, I guess, is like keep Corum in there and be like, well, this is your only option if you want to have like a cheeky
Right.
RB2 play. I guess that is better.
People bet the under, whatever, but I think more people are going to want to bet the over on a drafted rookie running back than want to bet the under. I don't know. Speaking of rookies and then the transition to college, look how smooth that was. I
Nice.
had a take. So obviously, I think the biggest matchup on paper going into the week was Texas Michigan, and I actually respect the shit out of Texas for scheduling Bama the last 2 years and now the stuff with Michigan, because at the time of scheduling those, that was Saban and Harbaugh in an era with a 14 playoff. Um, although it did work out for them last year because they were it was essentially like their tiebreaker to get into the playoff was beating Bama. But I have a take for kind of manufacturing some of these, and it kind of stems from some of the issues with bowl games too. Like the bowl games don't matter a lot anymore. Like you only need 6 wins, and like it's fun to watch football every single day, and like on weekdays, like when you're off on break and stuff like that, like that's obviously sick. But like now all the best teams play in the playoff, and I feel like turning the semis into New Year's Six bowls like didn't really do anything for anybody. Um, and now like with the conference realignment, like you lose all the tie-ins. Like what even is the Rose Bowl now? The Pac-12 is just fucking gone. Um, and then also like a lot of people sit out and shit. So I feel like what college football should adopt almost like a Maui Invitational kind of deal, where it's like bowl tie-ins where you say, okay, like in the first 3 weeks of like your non-conference, last year's Big Ten champ, SEC champ, they're gonna play each other, and that's like you could make a new bowl. It could be like I think it's unfair to make those the bowl games because like obviously there's guys who graduate and leave the school that played there the year before. Like you can't be like, okay, this is the Rose Bowl from last year or this is the Orange Bowl, whatever the fuck. But I like that idea of like pair up two of those teams in week one, make it like a big thing, Saturday night national game. Do the same thing week two with the other one, make it the ACC champ and the Big 12 champ. You could even do some group of 5 matchups like that. And I feel like there's no way you can really lose that much because if you win, that's a win against like a presumably like a preseason top 10 team that you're getting a win against. So that's big for your playoff chances. And if you lose, whatever, it's non-conference, 12-team playoff, just go fucking win your conference.
I think we will start seeing guys like be a little bit more ambitious in their scheduling. So like I think something at least like this will kind of happen is I mean Florida State kind of did the same thing, right? The last couple of years they start the season with somebody pretty significant in the 4-team format. So like I think going forward it'd be awesome to see the SEC to stop scheduling like 3 Sun Belt games a year, playing the Citadel, like beating the shit out of the Citadel, just taking their turns. But it's just like I think I mean, if we have more games, because if you're looking at it, the 12-team thing is great. And I know as like a Penn State fan, it's hard because, we win 10 games, we lose to Ohio State, Michigan, or whatever. Um, but like a lot of these schools, I'm like, oh man, like they have one tough game, like 1 or 2 really tough games. And then you look at the rest of their schedule and it's just like 50 feet of shit. So if we started like having these mega conferences and they're playing significant opponents each time, it's going to get a lot more interesting. And I think that actually makes the 12 team because people kind of scoff at 12. They're like, oh, it's like they had to let the Penn States in now, like so we made it 12 teams. It's like, but if everybody schedules like I don't know, maybe looking at the season on the outlook, like you're saying, significant finishers from the year before, you have like 7 or 8 ranked opponents thrown into your schedule for the preseason. I feel like it'll be a lot more interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we'll find out more what's going to happen with this scheduling stuff after this year because I think people are like they want to see how this 12 team playoff is going to shake out and how what those teams that aren't getting the auto bid how they get in and if there are teams that are getting screwed over because they lost that out of conference game in week 2 week 1. But I agree. I think that non-conference games in college football are a really fun like wrinkle. And I think like I know James Franklin has said in the past he doesn't like to schedule those anymore because he's gotten screwed over in the past by them. And you see teams more often than not like you right now in the 14 playoff era, you're in a better spot to schedule 3 cupcake games out of conference and just try to run the table in your conference schedule because those non-conference games really only can hurt you. They don't really get weighed that heavily if you win. I guess last year was an exception with Texas and Alabama, but I think now with the 12 team on paper it should work out, but I think it's going to be a wait and see first to see how people get screwed over before they actually start making those decisions.
Yeah, I think it's going to become very resume centric because I think the committee has always made it clear that they favor big wins over like it's a bigger deal to win a big game than it is to lose a game. The only thing was in a 14 playoff and 5 power conferences, you needed those wins, but you also needed to not lose, right? You could only lose probably one game, um, or sometimes you couldn't even lose zero. But I think they've proven that they value that, and so when you're expanding the field, I think a lot of teams are going to be like, oh, like if we just have one loss, we'll get in. And like that's probably true. If you have one loss in a Power Four conference, you'll probably get in. But if you lose that second game, like if you look at your schedule and you're like, okay, we got, maybe one, like we'll play the best team in the conference, and then we got, two or three other tough opponents. Like if you lose to any of them, then you're fucked because your non-conference is like Western Kentucky and shit like that. So I think teams are going to start reaching across the island. Maybe not swinging as hard as like Texas has, but I could see teams reaching for other conferences, like slightly top half teams, like teams coming to target like Wisconsin or I mean, obviously Missouri's having a really good year, but like I think someone on that
Kentucky.
like yeah, Missouri, Kentucky level of the SEC of like ranked any given week, but not too scary. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
I guess recognizable names is kind of the thing. And I guess like, you know, the rich get richer type thing though, if we start cutting out these schools, like Northern Illinois won't get paid over $1 million to beat the shit out of Notre Dame.
I still
I don't
think
really
there's
think
a
this is
place for
solid.
those schools though in this. They only need one of these games, and there's still going to
That's
be
true.
one. You got to play a homecoming game every year, right?
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
still going to be the Northern Illinois, the App States, the Boise States.
Yeah, I think, and that's like if people weren't upset about them losing the opportunity to be on the big stage, like more than they are, or at least the same as they are. It's like I just think it'd be more interesting if we adopted kind of like the NFL's idea of you play a different division out of conference each year. Like that's what the rest of your schedule's filled up with. If we kind of did that where, Penn State's not playing a Bowling Green or like Akron or Kent State, like we're playing, like Duke or, NC State, like schools like that where it's could be a significantly tough game. Then we have more discussions about like conference situations because the SEC, I mean, I guess Georgia and Alabama are good. What there's 7 ranked in the top 10 right now or something like that. But like, there have been years past where like Alabama blew everybody out of the water. Georgia was kind of there, but you never really actually thought that they would like make it over the hump. This is like 5, 10 years ago. But like then we get to the playoff or whatever, and they have all these talks like SEC over Big Ten and ACC is in there flirting Big 12, whatever. If we started playing everybody every year, we could it opens up the floor for a lot more discussion in that sense, which would be fun.
Yeah, like if you play in the SEC and then you schedule your non-conference as three, or let's say two of the three are ranked opponents in Power Five, and then the third one is like also an above average Power Five team. Like you could lose I think 4 games, and
Yeah.
if you have like 5 or 6 really impressive wins, and you have 4 losses to like top 8 maybe teams in the country, like you could squeak in as like an 11. Maybe not 4 losses, like 3 for sure. I think you get in though.
I agree. I think it'd be kind of like you could fucking like breathe again. Not everybody's holding their like every college football fan every Saturday is holding their breath. It's like if you could have the comfort of 3, and people will lose like we will lose. There'll be years where we lose like 3 or 4 games if that kind of thing happens because I think Joel Klatt said something that was pretty interesting. Like he thinks Notre Dame lost because they might have gotten too distracted, kind of looked past NIU, and like with all the NIL stuff, college kids are never more distracted than now. And it'd almost be interesting if like this is my own thought. If you were a new era coach, do you think that you would consider maybe not a whole day, but like maybe one practice in the week is kind of like a have your kids handle their NIL shit thing? Like you just have like basically TAs that are kind of like agents that deal with that stuff, and they're like, all right, let's handle this deal, that deal, whatever, so they don't have to like worry about that all week. And I guess
I
it's
like
where
that
these
idea.
agencies are coming into play a little bit, like
I'm
Limitless.
surprised. a school hasn't maybe they have, and I haven't read about it. A school hasn't had an agency like designed specifically for what you said, right? To just go
Yeah.
in there and be like, yeah, like every Wednesday it's NIL day. Like we're gonna go
Yeah.
in, like talk about any new deals with your agents. Like, if you need to film your commercials, like do all your get it out of the way, right? Like a Tuesday, like a day in which like, you're probably going to be off anyways or something. Like you're not doing anything physical. Like I think that schools, I don't know if they have that in place, but I'm sure we would see that in the future, because I agree the NIL stuff is definitely really distracting to some of these schools, and I feel like that these kids have so many obligations, like outside of actually. I mean, these football players don't go to class. Let's be honest. Outside of the school part and they have a full time job here and they're playing for an NFL future. Right, there's a lot on their plate, and this NIL stuff is just on top of it.
Yeah.
Do film day. You can't get your NIL sorted out. You can't make money until you watch your film.
That's right.
It's going to produce a better product on the field.
That's right.
But yeah, speaking of, like you mentioned, Notre Dame got the shit kicked out of them by Northern Illinois. My dynasty team on college football, Northern Illinois.
There you go.
And I think we could finally put to bed the whole like Notre Dame has hacked the system thing, because like they aren't going to be the 5 seed every year. They aren't going to go undefeated every year. They never fucking go undefeated, and they pick their whole fucking schedule. Like I fucking really hate Notre Dame. I hate both Notre Dame and Brian Kelly, and I don't know which one stemmed from the other one, but obviously two separate entities now. But the whole I'm young enough that Notre Dame, they went to one natty and lost it in my lifetime, and other than that, they've been so fucking mid. So maybe I just don't get it. Maybe somebody who's like 60 can tell me that Notre Dame's like good at football, but they fucking
I mean,
blow.
it'd be boomer. It'd be like the tradition talk. Like, grow up and like you watch Rudy, and if you're into football, you're like, oh, it's a cool story, blah blah blah. But then you hear Joe Montana just shit all over it, and you
Yeah,
realize like it's actually kind of funny because growing up, you know what kind of kid that they depict in that movie, and you're like, fucking that kid would suck. I would hate him so much.
yeah.
Like we would definitely bully him for sure. Like, but then like the conference thing, like thinking they're completely, they're above it all. And then I know that they're a big rival of Penn State, like really before I can remember it all. It just, I mean, it kind of leads me to be super happy to put them into my week 2 graveyard post week 2. I mean, I know
Arium.
everybody else has them. It was a
I'll
it was
join you.
a
Yeah,
clean sweep. If only if Ohio State would have won or lost, it would have been a clean sweep of just like teams and fan bases that I fucking hate getting knocked off a little bit. Um, so my graveyard, hopefully I'm not taking everybody's, but I have 3
I
teams
have
in
another
here.
one.
All right, well, Michigan. I think Michigan's in there. I don't think
Mags
they
did
could
that
play a
last week,
bunch of,
right?
Yep.
huh?
I
That was a great.
preemptively put him in the graveyard.
That was a
Oh
great
yeah,
call. They
okay, yeah. So
fucking suck.
I'm putting my flower down on the headstone that you put in last week. But then like I also have Iowa. Fuck, Iowa might be like my least favorite fan base in Michigan's pretty close, but Iowa's up there for one of my least favorite fan bases in the Big Ten.
Because they
Cade
wave at the
McNamara
children's
is
hospital.
yeah. Well, the
Douchebags.
Kinnick wave
Fucking
is sweet.
assholes.
The Kinnick wave is sweet, but they. I mean, Uh, I guess I'll say it. I guess if those they really, really, really make life go by slowly. So I was in the graveyard.
Imagine your one joy in life is that like there's a college football stadium right outside your window and you have to fucking watch Iowa. I'd be like, let's wrap this shit up, man. Let's fucking get this over with.
I mean, it is upsetting because it is like a super cool college tradition, but they're just like, and they're
Asking to close the fucking blinds.
yeah. McNamara is super hateable, except for that press conference thing last year with I forget exactly what it was, but I remember it was something funny. And then I have kind of a fun one. Um, it's dramatic, but I would say Oregon has contracted deadly illness. They've contracted one. They're not dead yet. They're getting sick, like they're coughing, and like people on the bus don't want to be near them, kind of situation.
Mhm.
And I think that, I might be putting them in the dirt soon
Yeah,
because those two
Oregon's
games were
mine.
horrible. Oh,
Oregon,
really?
yeah.
Yeah.
I bet on them. I bought into the hype. I bet on them to cover like almost 50 points week 1, and they were fucking terrible. They squeaked one out with fucking special teams bullshit this week against Idaho. So I pulled their schedule up. They have Oregon State, UCLA, whatever, Michigan State. They'll probably find ways to win all those games. They do play Ohio State. It is in Eugene. They go on the road to play Michigan. That's like the fraud bowl almost. That's going to be, I bet you that's like a playoff play-in game. And whoever wins that game will be like the 10th ranked team going into the playoff, and they'll get the fucking shit kicked out of them. That's my
Yeah,
prediction. And they got to go into Madison the week before Washington. So
I have a sneaky team for the graveyard. Actually, I'm putting the Kansas Jayhawks in the graveyard. Lost this week to Illinois, who is a very low tier Big Ten team. I think Kansas had sneaky potential to get into that 12 team playoff. I think any of those top teams in the Big 12 had that chance, but I think if you're going to come out of the Big 12, you either need to win that conference or need to be coming out of it with one loss if you are not winning the conference. And going into conference play with one loss already under your belt is really bad. I think that, I don't see an avenue now for them to make the playoff. I think they need it to be perfect, and just dropping a game like that as a ranked team, even it was on the road, but you can't be losing those games to Illinois.
I think
So
Yeah.
if they win, I don't think they will, but I think if they win out and win the Big 12 with one loss,
that's my
they'd probably get in.
the margin
Or they
for
have to
error
get in.
just got so much slimmer for them now,
Yeah.
and I think that there's just too many good teams.
The only thing is, like, if they show up to the Big 12 championship game with one loss and then they lose, like, they'll probably be losing to a team that they beat earlier in the season. So they could maybe sneak in, but I mean, none of this is real because Kansas sucks. Because I agree with you.
Well, they'd have to get through. I mean, their ranked opponents as it stands right now is Iowa State and K State, but they have Colorado, Kansas might be a fun game because it's just a dumpster fire of teams figuring it out. And then they got West Virginia, TCU, Houston, BYU, Baylor, so like Arizona State. But I mean, those are all names that everybody knows that are just horrible right now.
Yeah. Colorado is cooked. Dion is very cooked, I think.
So Colorado, we already have them in the graveyard. They should be there.
Yeah,
They are, yeah.
Yeah,
Nebraska,
they're
low
there.
key. I could see Nebraska. Does anybody know what Nebraska's schedule is? I think
Ohio
in the
State,
big.
late October.
Is that the only like really tough one though? Because I have Oregon schedule up and they don't play Oregon.
Nebraska. This is the first time in a long time that Nebraska has been a frisky like team or like an actual
USC.
team.
USC, okay.
It's actually kind of fun, like seeing Nebraska be good at football. I don't know about you guys, but I actually am really enjoying these like last 2 weeks of like Dylan Raiola hype and like seeing their fan base get fired up. Like it's been fun to see and something that I don't remember ever seeing in my lifetime.
It's definitely
Eric,
more fun. Yeah.
is that USC game at home for them?
Now it's at USC.
Here, I can read.
It's at Ohio State.
They beat USC, they'll make the playoff.
I mean, looking at their schedule, you can pencil in a loss to Ohio State, and then that means they're going. So they finished the year at Ohio State, home against UCLA, at USC, home Wisconsin, at Iowa Friday night on Black Friday. That's not an easy stretch of games there at all. I think if they can go into that undefeated and come out with 2 wins, I think that they have a chance to make the playoff.
Yeah, and he's super pumped if I was a Nebraska fan, just with Raiola. I think he's super exciting.
Yeah.
You have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. That's sick.
Exactly.
Another one I want to toss in the graveyard. Oklahoma sucks. They like can't. Houston is. I made the mistake of betting on Houston week 1. And then they almost lost to Houston, who I think Houston is like a bottom 20 team in the entire country. So um, that means Oklahoma's right there with it. I don't think anyone thinks that Oklahoma is like any good this year, really. I think it is kind of funny that they kind of big brothered Texas for the last like decade in the Big 12, and then they both come to the SEC, and Texas is competitive and could maybe win the SEC, and Oklahoma's going to be like a middle bottom half team in the conference.
Yeah. I mean, Lincoln Riley leaving, I know it's been a while, or a couple years, but that kind of does it to you, I feel like. And then like it's a lot of transition.
Getting your coach poached by a bigger program is something that I feel like is really tough to come back from in the eyes of like from a recruiting standpoint. Like you were seeing firsthand that the program you were committing to is second tier, right?
Right.
Like you immediately you were second guessing every decision that you were going into if you're a recruit, and I think that is going to set them back a lot. That's a
Which
really
is
tough.
also it's hard because it's like at the time that he was getting poached, I know like the tradition and history of USC, but I mean they had like Heisman after Heisman after Heisman, and they were like losing one game and being at times ranked in like the top. Like they were at the peak of like what you could ever want your program to be, which
Yeah,
is like kind of
yeah,
more to your point. It's like I don't know. It would be heartbreaking because it's just kind of it probably feels a little bit more like betrayal because your program's actually was nasty.
yeah.
Yeah. So next week upcoming, couple big matchups. K State is hosting Arizona. That's a top 20.
Friday night game.
Yup. Bama at Wisconsin. I'll be watching. Girlfriend's a Wisconsin grad. Um, Another sneaky one. Missouri hosting Boston College. It's two teams that I've been cautiously optimistic about. But I also like don't understand how either of them are good. So I think I kind of feel like Missouri has to beat the shit out of Boston College. I think if Boston College hangs around, they're like, okay, maybe they are competitive in the ACC.
Yeah.
But Mizzou has to, this is a team Mizzou has to kick the shit out of if they're going to be competitive in the SEC.
How was LSU South Carolina the game day game this week?
That was, I don't know why you would ever put South Carolina in.
Yeah.
Like, I get that it's an SEC conference game, but like, fuck.
I mean, I get saving Bama for later games in the season. I know Bama Georgia's coming up, but it feels like a miss here not having Wisconsin.
It should be Camp Randall.
Yeah.
Like, Camp Randall's a great place to play. You knew Wisconsin was going to be, even if they go 1-1, they lose to one of those garbage teams, which they almost did week 1. But like, even so, like it's a great place to watch a game. It's fucking Bama coming to town. Like,
Yeah.
they're definitely going to show out. But
Yeah.
okay, should we get to some NFL picks, boys?
Please. I'm ready to talk some pro ball. I've been more on the NFL this year than college for whatever reason. I really enjoyed week 1.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the opposite. I enjoyed week 1, but I've been keeping up with a lot of the different plot like storylines in college, and I like it a lot. So
All right. Well, we do have an announcement. We have an ad this week. This
Dang.
week's NFL picks are brought to you by Faderade. We are responsibly betting the slate every weekend, and if you're like Eric, your picks may have you just puking all over yourself before the late slate even begins. But Faderade is the perfect drink to get you hydrated. It's going to replenish those electrolytes, and you're going to get those thumbs in shape to place a weekend-saving parlay on Sunday Night Football. So for those moments where you just got to fade yourself, it's just got to be Faderade. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. There you
like
go.
it. So I'm in last place. Yeah.
You are indeed. Yeah, so how we're going to operate moving forward on these, obviously you spent a lot of time on picks last week, so we're going to condense it down a little bit. Everyone's going to get one pick. Those are going to be your best bet of the week. We're going to put those 4 picks into the unsolicited dick picks parlay. There's going to be a graphic for
Jason
that.
Derulo's cock.
Yep, there's going to be a graphic for that one. We're still going to pick every game. So once we square away the parlay, then Everyone will give a quick run through their card, and we'll keep track through the entire year still. So that's not dead. But yeah, so real quick before we get started, recap on last week. Corey is the league leader right now, 11-5 last week. Mags with a 9-7. I went 8-8, and Eric 6-10. And looking at the parlay, did not win last week, but we didn't have the name yet. So, Corey and Mags both had winning bets, contributed to that. Eric and I were the losing legs there. So,
If we like to bring up bullshit, though, the three of us were 3 for 3 in our first week of college betting.
that
So,
is true. Corey, think off early.
I'm 1-1 in the unsolicited dick pics schedule so far. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do have Corey's pick. Should I just start with Corey's so that nobody takes his
Yeah.
lock?
Sure.
Okay. So Corey's picks are his dick pick is 49ers minus 6.5 at the Vikings. And then he's also got the over in the Thursday night game, over 48.5, Bills Dolphins. Seahawks minus 3.5 at the Patriots. Commanders minus 1.5 at home against the Giants. Panthers Chargers under 38.5. Cowboys minus 6.5 against the Saints. Colts minus 3.5 at the Packers. He's got under 41.5. Browns Jags. Jets minus 3.5 at the Titans. Bucks plus 7 at the Lions. A lot of road dogs here. Not dogs, but road teams. And just as I say it, Ravens minus 9.5 at home. Rams plus 1.5 at the Cardinals. Under 47.5. Chiefs Bengals. Steelers minus 3 at the Broncos. Bears plus 6.5 at the Texans on Sunday Night Football. And the Monday night game, he's got the Eagles covering minus 6.5, hosting the Falcons.
Well,
Would anyone like to volunteer to go first?
I would do it. One thing too, Mags, at least for us. Well, you guys are all Steelers fans, but with Corey being in first place, I feel like Lewis, you're realistic, I think, but I think there's built-in weeks where he just like says he will not bet against the Steelers for things. So there's built-in weeks where you're just gonna make a couple picks back. Like we'll probably make
I do that too.
picks back.
I bet the Steelers on the spread every single week.
Oh, okay. So, but maybe for this one, I don't know if you'd change your tactics. But anyway,
Nah,
so should I give my dick pick first or go through?
Yeah, give your dick pick first.
All right, my dick pick first. I think it's probably kind of bold, but I think for the first time in a couple of years, the NFC's talent might be spread around a little bit. Not as top heavy as it was for a while. I like, and it's kind of, I don't know. I like the Bucks plus 7 against the Lions.
I really like that too.
They looked really good this week. I mean, Baker's just he's a fun guy to root for. I felt like for a while there's kind of like a Johnny Manziel vibe around him where like it was kind of, people just didn't like him. They thought he was kind of a dickhead. And I think it's just that he's like fun and kind of gritty. Like he's a gamer. I think they're good. Defensive solid this week. And I like the Lions too. It's nothing against the Lions. I just feel like, week 2, getting everything figured out. Bucks look good. So I like Bucks plus 7.
7's a big number for a team that's pretty solid all around. And the Lions are going to run into like Chiefs syndrome where they win so much and they tend to run it up a couple times a year that like all their lines are going to be big. I think it's going to be hard for the line. They're going to get like 6 and 7 point spreads a lot this year, and I think I'm going to pick against the Lions a lot, even though I really like them as a team.
Yeah, and I think they both run the ball kind of well. So like it could be like a clock chewing game where it's not like they're like the line, what, the over unders at 51.5.
Yeah, it's the biggest of this week.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot of points. Not saying that I don't think they could get there, but I feel like it could be kind of like a lower-ish scoring game type one. So I like them plus 7.
Yeah. Just picture if the Bills were right down the field and score a touchdown. Like all of a sudden the Lions need to score 14 points more than the Bucks for the rest of the game to cover that. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, you can do the whole slate if you want.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna for the Dolphins Bills. I'm gonna take the over at 48.5. Uh, obviously Dolphins fan want to take it, but whatever. I will go 49ers minus 6.5. Over 37.5 in the Patriots Seahawks game. Just too low. I like the Commanders minus 1.5. I'm taking the under in Chargers Panthers under 38.5. I'm gonna take the Cowboys minus 6.5 against the Saints. Um, Colts minus 3.5. Under 41.5 in the Jags Browns game. Jets minus 3.5. Bucks plus 7. I'm gonna go Ravens minus 9.5. Let's go over 49.5 in the Rams Cardinals game. Shootout. Uh Chiefs minus 5.5. Steelers minus 3. Bears plus 6.5, and then I'm gonna take the Falcons plus 6.5.
There you have it. There's so many big numbers. Big
I
numbers
know
and
that's
low.
why it was tough.
Numbers. I like them. I think it makes my job easier.
Yeah,
What do
unless
you
you
want to
like
show?
the favorite, then it's so many points.
Do you want to show us how it's done right now, then, Mags?
Absolutely. So my dick pick is going to be actually one of, I think, the biggest number. Ravens minus 9.5. I I think so. I was waffling between that and or actually no, sorry. Hold up. Walk it
Should we
back.
let him take it back?
Walk it back. I'm taking
Once you
Chargers.
pull the
Oh,
dick out, I don't know if you can
yeah.
put it back in.
I'm
You
taking
already
Chargers
pulled
Mr.
mine
minus
out.
6.5.
Watson, I don't think it works that way.
I'm taking Chargers minus 6.5. I was toying between them and the Ravens minus 9.5 because my line of thinking is Ravens aren't going to go 0-2 to start the year. And they're just a flat out better coached, more talented team than the Raiders. And I think they're going to come out a little angry with that loss. But the only reason I'm scared off of that 9.5 number is the backdoor cover potential with Devontae Adams and those two tight ends that they have. And
And
I
because
feel
it's
like
9.5 fucking points in the NFL.
Gardner Minshew likes to throw the ball around, and I mean, you look at this Panthers Chargers game, you're betting against the worst team in the NFL. It's plain and simple. They scored 10 points against the Saints, so I really like Chargers minus 6.5 there.
Yeah, I kind of wanted you to pick the Ravens just because I actually am on the Raiders. So I was like, either I see a bet
Correct.
go through the goalposts, or the parlay's still alive. So
All right, so then you want me to run down the rest?
yeah,
All right, so I'm going to take the over 48.5 for Bills Fins tired defense. I actually like the Vikings plus 6.5. Again, backdoor cover potential. They can throw the ball. Seahawks, I like them minus 3.5 against the Patriots. Commanders, Giants. I'm going to take the over in that one, actually. I think both teams just don't know what they're doing. Both defenses don't know what they're doing, and there's just going to be a lot of points scored there. Chargers, Panthers, I took Chargers minus 6.5. Saints, Cowboys, I'm going to take the Cowboys minus 6.5. The Cowboys are a regular season team, and they put up big numbies in the regular season. I'm going to take Colts plus 3.5 against the Packers. Malik Willis is playing. I probably like the Colts as a money line dog there.
her favorite.
Oh, my bad. Read that wrong. I'm still taking Colts minus 3.5 then.
Yeah,
Sorry about that. I'm going to take the Jags minus 3.5. I think the Jags are a pretty good team against the Jets. I agree. I think 7 is a big number for that Bucks Lions game, so I'm going to take Bucks plus 7. I'm going to take Raiders plus 9.5. I will take the Rams plus 1.5. A lot of road dogs.
we rad.
Chiefs, I'm going to take them minus 5.5. I think you can't bet on Joe Burrow and the Bengals without you can't bet on that game. You can't bet on the Bengals in good faith without knowing what Joe Burrow is going to be doing. Broncos Steelers, I actually like the under. It's the lowest point total of the week at 36.5.
That's great.
The Steelers didn't score a touchdown last week. I
They
think they're
do.
fine. They're going to be kicking field goals from 70 yards out. So then I like the Texans -6.5 home against the Bears. That's a Sunday night game, I believe. Bears, they didn't have over 100 yards of passing. Was it passing yards or total offense? They
didn't have an offensive touchdown, right?
I don't know.
don't
That game was kind of, every time that game came on Red Zone, I was looking at my computer or something.
Now that I think about it, I mean, they did have a special teams touchdown and a defensive touchdown, I think, right?
Pick six, yeah.
Last game, I'm going to take Falcons +6.5. I think that's a pretty big number. I feel like they can't hit any lower than what they were at last week against the Steelers. And I don't think that Eagles defense has some holes in it. And I think Kirk Cousins should be able to throw the ball around there.
Yeah. Also, to answer your question, I think Caleb Williams had like 93 yards.
Yeah.
He had 93. He was 14 of 29 for 93 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks though. 55.7 QBR. They had I think it was a blocked punt or blocked field goal with they were J.O. and they had Simone Biles' husband scored the touchdown.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then they had
29 attempts and you get 93 yards. That's so bad.
Yeah, I mean he might be fun to watch eventually. He only had 15 rushing yards, so I thought maybe I want to watch like a full Bears game. They would pop on Red Zone every once in a while. That's all I saw.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't watching Red Zone as closely in the early one because of the Steelers. It was a really good game. Okay. My dick pick for the week. I'm happy nobody took it. I am on Seahawks -3.5 at the Patriots. Their defense looked pretty amazing. I know they played the Broncos, but now they're playing the Patriots. So I feel like the Patriots got to come down. There's no fucking way they can start 2-0. So if I know the Seahawks are winning, now I just got to look for 3.5 points. So yes, dick pick is the Seahawks -3.5. Rest of my picks, I've got Fins -2.5 versus the Bills. I got Niners -6.5 at the Vikings. I am on the Giants +1.5 at the Commanders. I can't believe that I bet on the Giants last week. I think the Commanders are a little better than the Giants, but the Giants are going to win a handful of games this year, and there are a handful of Daniel Jones games that earned him that contract. And I think the Commanders' defense is so shit, and I think that the Giants could win outright here. I'm also on Chargers -6.5 at the Panthers. Cowboys -6.5 hosting the Saints. Colts -3.5 at the Packers. Malik Willis is very bad. Jags -3.5 hosting the Browns. Jets -3.5 at the Titans. Bucks +7 at the Lions. Raiders +9.5 at the Ravens. Fuck the Ravens. They always they just play these dick around games that I can't see them beating a team by 10 until they'll play like a good team and win by 20, and everyone's like, oh, the Ravens. Rams +1.5 at the Cardinals. That's a rat line. They should be favorites. Chiefs Bengals under 47.5. I had the Bengals, and then I saw the Joe Burrow thing. Then I switched to the Chiefs, but then I remember they don't cover, so I'm just going with the under.
I forgot that they don't cover.
Also, Joe Burrow might just be the new Big Ben. He always has something.
Yeah.
I got Steelers -3 at the Broncos. Texans -6.5 against the Bears. And I'm also on Falcons +6.5 at the Eagles. The Falcons offense can't look worse. And the Eagles, feel like everybody's on them because they beat a good team, but
Yeah, they're scary. I had them in one of my potential picks, but no matter how I bet Philly sports, I'm losing. I had something to just bring up, just because your pick is locked in, and for the Giants, the Daniel Jones games, it feels like they just have no fucking clue what to do because he threw the ball 42 times last week,
mm-hmm.
and they scored 6 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he had he was 22 of 42 for 180 or for 186 and 2 interceptions. So,
Yeah, I think I'm just chasing the Giants, and I'll get either like the money line win or the cover or whatever, and then
yeah.
I'll lay
Put
off for the rest
yourself
of the
in a
year.
spot to like have to have a vested interest in that game is a sicko move.
Yeah,
I have
and I
I
think
have Jalen Hyatt on my taxi squad, thinking like, oh, he's super fast. It's always fun to just have a rookie that's really fast. He just like Tyrone Tracy Jr. caught a ball,
oh
and
yeah,
Jalen Hyatt feels like he hasn't caught a ball since he got into the league.
yeah.
I don't
Remember
know.
Jalen Hyatt? I have Tyrone Tracy, and he's gonna be lethal at some point. Um, maybe not. Okay. Well, that's about all we had. If you're listening right now on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thank you. We also have a YouTube if you want to watch the video version. Shout out to the couple people that have watched so far. Socials, we are on Twitter, x.com. Throw them up. We got the picks graphic
Are we
every
on Truth
week.
Social yet?
Say it again.
Are we on Truth Social yet?
We're not. You want to set that one up?
I don't think I don't know if we can. I'll look into that one.
All right.
Yeah, Yik Yak.
But yeah, we post the full picks graphic every week. We're gonna have the dick pic this week as well. Kind of get in the mix, in the weeds there on x.com. We also have Instagram, so we got the graphics on there, and we got the show clips, and then a TikTok as well, with clips from the show, and those are all picks and parlays. As the at. Boys, you got anything else?
When
Talk
are
shit
you
with
gonna
us on Twitter.
You're doing what on Twitter?
I just want people to talk shit with us. No one takes the bait yet.
Yeah, I know. I think we might need to ID a guy on the podcast, and we need to just go to war for that guy. I don't know who it is yet.
for or with?
4. Wait.
Okay, we need a king, and then we need a guy that we go full hater mode.
Yeah.
Mags, I feel like you have a lot of guys that you could go hater mode on.
Yeah, I do. I have a list.
Who's your number one?
Right now, David Ortiz is up there. Yeah. I like Deshaun's an easy one though. I feel like
Yeah.
Drew Brees.
I feel like it's got to be a player.
You want an active player?
Yeah.
I'm a beat writer.
You do hate. We are gonna have that Drew Brees conversation
Should we
on
go
here
after
at
like
some point.
Zachary Charbonnet? Just someone fucking out there.
He might need to be. He's a good candidate for a king, though.
Yeah, we could. He's
Backup running
He's
back?
Charbonnet truthers.
I have him on my fantasy team.
He had a touchdown last week.
Let's just fucking go after Sean McVay because he fucked us on Blake Corum. We're a Sean McVay hate podcast.
I could get behind that, although I'm riding the Rams this year, so I don't know. But if I ride really hard and then they don't meet my expectations,
I'm a Rams guy. I feel
kind
like
of
it
look
also
like
should
Sean
be
McVay in a certain light.
somebody that would be like in the meat. Like, I don't know.
Can we hate Lamar? Can that be our hate?
I don't hate Lamar. I feel like he's kind
He's
of
coming
like
off an MVP. Come on. Fuck you guys.
We'll
I
see.
don't
How
hate him.
about,
I
how
feel
about
like
we'll
he's
watch the
funny.
slate of games this weekend and we'll pick someone to hate.
All right.
Yeah.
That's all right. When we pick them, you'll fucking know. All right. Well, yeah, I think that's going to do it, boys. So we'll say thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you all next time.